You're standing right in front of them. Someone you've met before, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and their name is just gone. Not fuzzy, not almost there. Gone. Like it was never stored anywhere to begin with. And the forgetting, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is the next 10 seconds, the silent theater you perform. Subtly shifting your body, praying someone else in the room says their name first, genuinely considering whether a fire alarm would be too much to ask for right now. Here's what nobody tells you though. This isn't a character flaw. This isn't rudeness. There is something very specific happening inside your brain, and once you understand it, you will never feel the same guilt about it again. Let's go back to the exact moment you meet someone new. Your brain isn't relaxing, it's sprinting. It's reading their face, calculating their tone, figuring out the social dynamic, deciding if they like you, deciding if you like them, and simultaneously composing whatever comes out of your mouth next. Your working memory, that short-term holding space in your prefrontal cortex, is already juggling 6 things at once. And right into the middle of that cognitive storm, someone hands you one small, arbitrary sound. Their name. Hi, I'm Kevin. Kevin. Okay. Kevin doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't trigger an image, a feeling, a memory, or an idea. It just sits there, isolated, in a brain that is, frankly, too overwhelmed to babysit it. Psychologists actually have a name for this phenomenon. In 1987, researchers McQueenie and Ellis published a landmark study revealing what's now called the Baker-Baker paradox. They showed participants a photo of a man. One group was told he was a baker by profession. Another group was told his last name was Baker. Days later, the people who learned his occupation remembered it far more easily than those who learned it as a name. Same word, completely different retention. Because baker as a job lights up a whole web of associations in your brain. Flour, warm bread, early mornings, the smell of something rising. As a surname, it lights up nothing. It floats there, rootless and unanchored. Names, by their very nature, are semantically empty, and your brain, brilliant, ruthless efficiency machine that it is, preferentially holds on to things that mean something. Think about the last funeral you attended. You probably remember the scent of the flowers, the specific weight of the silence, who broke down crying, a single sentence someone said that landed somewhere deep in your chest. What you almost certainly don't remember is what was printed on the order of service. Your brain made that call without asking you. Names are the order of service. Everything else about a person is the funeral. Now, here's where it gets a little more personal, because this part hits closer to home than most people are comfortable admitting. A significant portion of chronic name forgetters aren't careless, they're anxious. While the other person is introducing themselves, there's a full internal monologue already running. Am I making enough eye contact? Was that handshake too limp? Did I just accidentally interrupt them? The name enters the room and the internal noise bulldozes straight over it. This is actually documented. Psychologist Malcolm Brenner identified it in 1973, the next in line effect. People anticipating their own turn to speak showed dramatically reduced memory for what the person right before them had said, because mentally they'd already moved on, already composing, already editing themselves in real time. People living with social anxiety or even just a hyperactive self-awareness are essentially stuck in that mode permanently, never quite here, always half a step ahead into what comes next. So, when someone offers them their name, they're already somewhere else. Here's the reframe if that's you. You don't have a memory problem, you have a preoccupation problem. Those are very different things. There's something that needs to be said for the people whose names keep getting forgotten, because the emotional sting of it is real, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. When your name doesn't stick, it lands like a quiet message. You didn't matter enough. That's what it feels like, even when it's completely, entirely wrong. The brain doesn't always default to the rational interpretation. But here's what's actually true. The person who forgot your name probably replayed your conversation afterward. They remember what you said about your sister.
They remember the specific way you laughed. They remember that unusual take you had that they couldn't quite shake. They were there. They just weren't quite there for the name part. And this is the thing about memory that most people fundamentally misunderstand. It is not a recording. Your brain doesn't store experiences the way a hard drive stores files. It stores impressions, emotions, patterns, fragments, and it prioritizes with ruthless logic. High emotion? Stored. Surprising? Stored. Connected to something familiar? Stored. One arbitrary syllable handed to you at the exact moment you were busy trying to appear normal in front of a stranger? Good luck. People who forget names easily often share something else. They tend to be highly associative thinkers, richly contextual, emotionally attuned. They remember stories. They remember the look on your face when you said something that mattered. Ask them what someone was wearing at a party 3 years ago, they might actually tell you. Ask them the name of the person standing next to that someone, blank. Their brain was cataloging everything except the label. This isn't a flaw in the architecture, it's just a particular kind of architecture, one that is genuinely better suited to storytelling, to emotional depth, to the kind of listening that makes people feel truly seen. And yes, worse suited to the specific mechanical task of retaining what someone was called under social pressure. None of this means you shouldn't try to improve, because you absolutely can. Repeating someone's name back immediately when you meet them, connecting it visually to someone you already know. These techniques work because you're doing manually what your brain refuses to do automatically. You're building the association that wasn't naturally there. You're constructing a small bridge between Kevin and something that already has a home in your mental landscape. But the shame spiral, that quiet, low-grade belief that forgetting names makes you someone who moves through the world without really registering other people, that part is wrong. And it's worth saying out loud, clearly, because a lot of people carry it for years without once stopping to ask whether it's actually true. You are not absent. You are not dismissive. You are someone whose brain prioritizes differently, gets caught in its own internal weather, and occasionally fails at the single least interesting thing about another human being, the arbitrary sound their parents assigned them before they'd done a single thing worth remembering. The name was always the least of it. What you remember about people, the real texture of who they are, the things they said, the way they made you feel, that part is still there. It's been there the whole time.